kindly ask the Chief Executive Officer of ICDL Foundation, Damien O'Sullivan, for a few words.
Distinguished guests, Minister, Permanent Secretary, Executive Secretary, ladies and gentlemen, friends and partners of ICDL. It's a great pleasure for me to be back in Kigali after 2 years. A long time to be away from a place that I've grown to love and has become so important to the ICDL network. I represent the global ICDL organization, and my presence here today is to emphasize how important the work of ICDL Africa and the partners of ICDL Africa are to the global organization. This is my first ICDL business trip since COVID hit. I've been grounded for the last 20 months, but my first trip is back to Africa because of the importance of this event. My last trip before COVID hit was in February 2020. Perhaps not coincidentally, it was also to Africa, that time to Benin and to Côte d'Ivoire. So I think you can believe me when I say that ICDL Africa is critical to the ICDL global organization. Before this pandemic hit us, when we would engage with partners around the world, when we would talk to governments, when we would talk to employers, to educators, we would be arguing in favor of a digital skills strategy, talking about why an organization, why a government, why an institution would need a digital skills strategy. And many of you will have heard me mention these three key elements. This was a common experience, common challenge experience around the world. And these were the arguments in favor of focusing on digital skills and why having a digital skills strategy was so important. We talked about there being a new digital divide, about perception and reality, and digital native fallacy. So we talk about how there is quite a difference between what we regard as digital lifestyle skills and digital workplace skills. And that just because a person is seemingly proficient in the use of their smartphone in their personal life, it does not necessarily mean that they have the skills that the workplace demands, that employers need. And that there is a divide between those who have digital lifestyle skills and digital workplace skills. We also would have talked about perception and reality, how most people overestimate their competence in the use of digital tools. And when we perform objective assessment of their digital skills, that their measurement of their competence is much lower. So there's clearly a distinction between the individual's perception of the strength of their digital skills and the reality. And also a problem with employers, with managers overestimating the competence of their own team. And we would also have spoken about the digital native fallacy, the fallacy that young people have the skills that are required in the workplace. Again, they may be proficient in the use of smartphones, of social tools, of entertainment tools, but not proficient in the use of technology that's required in the workplace. So these were the common arguments in support of focusing on digital skills and developing a digital skills strategy. We would also have spoken about how most jobs will now require digital skills, and often quoted the European Commission, who estimated that 90% of jobs will require some level of digital skills. So pre-pandemic, the discussion was about why do we need a digital skills strategy? And the response that we've got would range from people saying it's unnecessary, our people are skilled, to agreeing that possibly or probably they needed a digital skills strategy, and then the insightful people who would recognize that they definitely need a digital skills strategy. And of course, many of you who have engaged with ICDL pre-pandemic would have clearly shared our view that digital skills are critical to development. Then the pandemic hit, and all countries were faced with a response to the crisis. So what we saw over the last 20 months was lockdown and issues around continuity. So we had businesses looking at business continuity. We had a focus on schools and colleges around education continuity, healthcare continuity. How do we continue to offer healthcare to our citizens? How does government keep working? How does public administration continue in the face of lockdown and restriction? And then the particular public health actions that had to be put in place around testing and tracing, treatment, vaccination, communicating with the population, all at massive scale. Thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people having to be engaged with and put through processes around testing, vaccinating, etc. And what has been key to that has been digital technology. It was the application of technology that enabled us to have business continuity and education continuity and public administration continuity. So what we saw was rapid digital transformation, more digital transformation in the space of 3 months than maybe happened in 3, 5, 10 years before that. We saw a big focus on devices, on applications, on connectivity. But then what we saw was the gap, that the digital skills gap became even more apparent as we tried to roll out technology, as we saw the need to enable people to work from home, to connect online, to continue to do their work in a very different way. And so what we have learned all over the world, in Europe, in Asia, in Africa, in the Middle East, in the Americas, in all countries, what we've seen is students, teachers, workers, management not having strong enough digital skills to support that digital transformation. Digital transformation doesn't happen by applying technology. The transformation happens with the people. So we're now hopefully approaching a post-pandemic phase, and what we have seen over the last 20 months will start to result in permanent change. And it will result in permanent change in the world of work. This research from McKinsey looking at how occupations will change. And they're talking about a shift in the mix of occupations by 2030. So over a very short period of time, the next 8-9 years, what we will see is roles changing. But at the bottom, examples in the dark shading, black shading, these are roles that will see significant decrease around office support, production warehousing, food services, customer services. The ones at the top in the darker blue, these will see significant increase in roles in healthcare, in care workers, in STEM professionals, managers, business and legal. And what is certain is that in those roles that will increase, there will be an absolute reliance on technology. What this means for the existing workforce is that millions of workers around the world will be faced with change over the next 8 or 9 years to 2030. So this graphic is showing how a significant percentage of the workforce in these countries will have to shift to new types of role, and it has been accelerated because of COVID. So it's estimating that in Germany, for example, 5.8 million people will be faced with a job transition. That's in the current workforce. In France, 2.5 million. In China, 54 million. These are people who are currently in work who will be faced with transitioning to new types of role over the coming years. And that's not to mention all of the other people who will stay in their current role, but the way that they perform that role will change. So now what we're faced with is a different environment where there's increased focus and investment in digital skills because of what we have experienced over the past 20 months. There's increased recognition and acceptance that there is a digital skills gap. Where there was skepticism before, now people are sure. Within their own organization, management can see that there is a digital skills gap. Within public administration, within the education system, there is no longer an argument, there is no longer a question. We have seen that there is a skills gap. So governments are expressing grave concern about the current workforce because of the level of change that is required now. So there is a focus on skilling, reskilling, upskilling all over the world. And this comes also in an era where we're looking at longer working lives. Somebody who is today, like myself, in mid-50s, no longer can look forward to retirement at 60. We will be expected to work not just to 65, but to 70 and beyond. We can see it in advanced economies like Singapore, where we're very familiar with it. Quite senior people still in the workforce. So if we are going to be in the workforce as 50-year-olds for the next 20 years, what level of technological change are we going to have to deal with? And of course, we have to also recognize that our future workforce, which is the young people in the education system at the moment, they're not being sufficiently prepared. They're not job ready when they leave. So job readiness is one of the new buzzwords or terms that governments are talking about. Are our young people job ready? Do they leave the education system with the skills that employers want? And digital skills is the real practical skills that young people need, as well as their academic qualification. So to what extent is the primary and secondary school system preparing young people? To what extent is the vocational and higher education system preparing young people? Surely the vocational system and the higher education system should result in job-ready young people. So there is a recognition now that we need strategies, but not just a strategy. We need action plans. We need formal approaches to ensure that we have the systems in place to deliver on digital skills. And it requires focus. For many years, digital skills have been talked about in Europe, and budgets have been allocated for digital skills programs in Europe. But when you look at the performance, those lines represent data from 4 different years measuring the percentage of the population with digital skills between 2015 and 2019. Those lines are very flat. So we're talking about around 56% of the population having very basic digital skills, and it hardly moves. We're talking about around 30% having higher level of digital skills, and it moves between 29% and 31% over 4 years. That's very slow progress. So it requires extra focus, extra effort, extra investment if we're going to have a significant impact. And to share with you, again, experience from the European Union, they're also concerned about the number of ICT specialists. And again, very slow progress. So the lower 3 lines on that table, between 2016 and 2018, It moved from 3.7% of the workforce being ICT specialists to 3.9%. Not a big shift, despite all of the emphasis on getting young people into computer science and related courses. The number of graduates moving from 3.5 to 3.6% over 2 years. So there's renewed effort within the European Union. They've established the European Union Digital Decade. So from 2021 to 2030, extra focus, extra effort, extra investment in digital skills. So their ambition is to move from 56% of adults with basic digital skills to 80% in the next 8 years. They've targeted growing the ICT workforce from 8.4 million to 20 million. So there's very concrete ambition, but it's not going to happen without extreme focus, effort, and investment. So as I said, pre-pandemic, we were focused on why, the why of a digital skills strategy. Why does my organization need it? Why does my institution need it? Why does my ministry need it? Why does our economy, our society need it? And now it has shifted. It's not about why, it's about how. We recognize we need it. Now it's about how to do it. And I've shared the ICDL experience with you before and what we've seen as best practice around the world. So international best practice would suggest that as a country, you should define a skills standard. You can define a national standard or you can adopt an international standard. But it's about saying across your own country, across your public sector, across your private sector, what standards do you need for different types of roles? Rwanda has done that already, so a number of years ago defined a digital talent policy. So that's specifying what the expectation is, what do we need as a country. You can then approve compliance certification. So certification is a tool that will support your strategy. And again, you could have a national or international certification. Of course, we would say that it should be ICDL because ICDL is the best. But it is about formally recognizing appropriate certification. It's about building partnership with public and private sector. This cannot be done by government alone. It cannot be left to the private sector alone. It has to be a partnership between public and private sector. And you have to scale up carefully because quality is key. If you don't focus on quality, you won't have a successful implementation of strategy. And it's about focusing on both current and future workforce, looking at the civil service, the public sector more widely, looking at SMEs and corporates, what are the skills that different types of organizations need. It's looking at how the vocational and higher education sector and primary and secondary education sectors can contribute to the delivery of a strategy. And it comes down to practicalities, what we call the ABC approach. It's as simple as that. It's about assessing, building, and certifying skills. And the most important thing to do is to start. Don't spend too long time strategizing. You can strategize as you learn. So start, get pilots going, start implementing, refine your strategy. Develop delivery capability, build a network of delivery partners, and then extend and sustain it. So while it requires focus and effort and investment, it's not complicated. But we do have to do it. And as I mentioned, certification is a key tool in delivering on a digital skills strategy. And we believe that ICDL is the most important, the most effective tool. So very often we're asked about, well, why ICDL? And the simple answer is it works. And we have examples all over the world of how ICDL works. And the reason it works is because it's all we do. ICDL is not a technology company that also offers training or certification in our own products. ICDL is not a general education organization. We focus only on digital skills. So part of the reason that ICDL works is because it's all we do. And the other aspect is we are both global and local. We're here. Wherever ICDL is implemented, we're there on the ground. It's not about supplying content. It's about building a network of partners and supporting those partners. So the reason that ICDL works is we're here. And we build capacity locally, but also operate on a global standard. Now, there's lots of examples that I could share with you from around the world, but we have a document on the table, the references and endorsements brochure gives you examples from all over the world of where ICDL works, and that's the best testament to what we do. The detailed answer about why you should choose ICDL, why ICDL works, relates to what we call the ICDL advantage, where there's 4 key pillars to the strength of ICDL around our program, our platform, our pricing, and our people. So when we look at our programs, as I said, we're not a technology company. So we look at what skills people need. And of course, we are all users of multiple technologies. So if you look at a vendor program, a vendor logically provides training and certification in the use of their own product. But we all use multiple products. So the focus of ICDL is to look at what are the skills that people need. So our workforce program, our ICDL professional program, our ICDL Insights program is providing people with the skills and understanding they need across technology from multiple vendors. And it doesn't matter whether it's Microsoft or Apple or Google or Salesforce. Our job is to focus on the skills people need. The job of the software vendor is to sell their software. So they'll focus on the skills you need to use their product. We focus on the skills you need to do your job. If we move on to the second aspect is around our platform. So Skillsbox is our technology platform. And it follows that same ABC approach. It's about providing assessments, building skills using e-learning and e-books, and providing certification opportunities. So we introduced Skillsbox quite rapidly into Africa last year in response to the pandemic because we needed online delivery to provide that continuity. We've also introduced digital badging and digital certificates, again reflective of changing in technology, but also connecting with how people want to share. So the opportunity for our candidates and our young people is to share their success. They achieve a digital badge which can be shared online. But our technology is supporting what we do. And a big focus now is on providing e-learning resources. So for all of the ICDL workforce modules, we now have e-learning as part of the module pack that we provide. And this will facilitate a blended approach to building skills. We still need to support our learners with tutoring, with workshops, but by providing e-learning, we enable them to make progress at their own pace in a supported environment. So that's programs and platform. The next pillar of the ICDL advantages is pricing. And our approach to pricing is to provide simplicity, flexibility, and a cost-effective solution. So we've introduced changes in the last few months to enhance the cost effectiveness of it. And it's about providing that complete solution. So within a module pack, every module, what we provide for the fee is 3 assessments, access to e-learning or an e-book, a certification test, and then 1 resit opportunity. And that's included in the price of $20 for a module pack. But if you're engaging learners in multiple modules, then a profile pack is a cost-effective solution. What we offer is value. But again, everybody has to do their own job. We do digital skills. We build a network and we support that network. And we're not funded and we're not a funder. So there is logically a fee that has to apply that supports not just the supply of content, it supports the infrastructure of ICDL that's key to success. So we say it's better value than free content. Free content rarely works because the content part is the easiest part. What we need is the skill set around the network. What we need is the certification processes. What we need is the focus on quality. And then the last of the 4 pillars is people. And it's the reason that ICDL works. Yes, we have the best program, the best platform, great pricing, but it's about people. It's about the ICDL teams that we have in each country. It's about the network that we build working in partnership with you, and it's about strategic relationships with government, with different state agencies. It is that partnership that leads to success. ICDL is a people business, not a technology business. It's about people, and its strength is its people. And it's about the relationships that we build. But it's also about ensuring that we have a common approach. One of the aspects of ICDL that we emphasize most, it's our key value, is around credibility. So it's the credibility of ICDL as an organization. It's the credibility of ICDL as a certification. It's the credibility of the ICDL global network. And ultimately, it's about ensuring that a candidate who achieves ICDL certification in any test center has the same experience as a candidate in any other test center. So we need competence, we need character, we need consistency. So ICDL, as an organization, as a network, we have a character, we have a way of working, we have a belief system, we have a set of values. We also have a competence. This is what we do, and we're good at it because it's the only thing we do. But it's consistency. It's so important. So we talk about the consistency not just in terms of ourselves. Am I as effective and professional on a Wednesday as I am on a Tuesday? It's about our network. How consistent are we? It's about our test centers. That's why we put so much emphasis on quality, on auditing, to ensure consistency. So if we have practice which falls below the standard, then we have to address it. We have to be confident that the certification that's achieved in Rwanda is of exactly the same standard when it's achieved in Ireland or Germany or Singapore or Nigeria. And it's not just between countries, it's within the country. How do we ensure consistency across all of our test centers? And as a partner, ICDL as an organization engaging with governments in particular, credibility is key. So as it says, credibility is the degree to which other people can anticipate your future behavior. Government should be able to anticipate our future behavior. If you deal with ICDL, you know what you're getting. You can be confident how we will behave next month, next year, 5 years from now. We've been doing this for 25 years. We'll do it for another 25 years. So we are a long-term partnership. So it's about people, and it's about an approach that we take. So coming back to what I said at the start, I'm here because of the importance of ICL Africa. And the reason why ICL Africa is important to is about the approach we take as a global organization. We have a particular view of what it means to be global. When you think of a global brand, you think of Microsoft, Facebook, Apple. You think American. If you think of Samsung, Korean. You think of Mercedes or BMW, you think German. Despite the fact that they are available globally, they don't feel global. They are, by nature, where they came from. With ICDL, we didn't want ICDL to be that type of global. When you think of ICDL, we don't want you to think of that very good European program available in Africa. We didn't want the people in Singapore to think of ICDL as that program that comes from Ireland or Europe. Our approach is to be truly global, so that ICDL feels as African as it feels European, as Asian as it is African. That's the way we work, and that's been our ambition. So when we came to establish the ICL Africa operation here in Rwanda in 2015, it was coming with that ambition. We don't want to be offering a program from Europe to Africa. Of course, it has to start somewhere and it has to spread. But what our ambition is to say, by establishing ICL Africa, we wanted ICDL, first of all, in Africa. We don't want to deliver it from Europe. It has to be in Africa, it has to be for Africa, and it has to be by Africa. And the reason I'm so happy to be back is it's starting to feel like it is as African as it is European. And my hope for you is that you feel that you are part of ICDL, part of ICL Africa, and that by adopting ICDL as your program, it is something that you feel you have control over. We can all learn from each other and ideas spread around the world, which is good, but you have to make it your own. So the opportunity is for you to say, we'll be part of ICL, we will build this success story of ICL Africa, and we will adapt to meet our local needs. And that's how we work. So I am the sole representative of the global organization here today. Why? Because you don't need us. You're part of us. I come here as the figurehead to offer my encouragement and support, but what is being built here is that capability. And it's the same story in Asia, and you'll see the examples in the brochure. ICDL has been a standard used by the Singapore government for over 10 years. And lots of ideas from Singapore and Asia have been implemented in how we have developed ICDL over the years. Singapore doesn't need something from Europe, but they adopted ICDL because of that approach, that philosophy that we have. It can be Singaporean, it can be Asian. And so we're part of one global network, but a network of equals. Just to finish, a couple of comments about Rwanda. It's probably no surprise that our headquarters is in Ireland, our Africa headquarters is in Rwanda, our Asian headquarters is in Singapore. It wasn't that we had a very clearly defined plan, but it is about knowing what you want when you see it. So what is common about Ireland and Rwanda and Singapore, the key three hubs that we have, is they're small countries, and small countries look outward. So we're trying to build relationships across Africa. We need to start from a place that looks outward. Ireland looks out into the world. Rwanda looks out into the world, looks out across Africa, Singapore the same. Why? Because you have to when you're small. Aren't that many places to go within your country? Rwanda, like Ireland, like Singapore, is also a country that emphasizes education. Because like Ireland and Singapore, the key asset in Rwanda is your people. So where I come from, Ireland, we have transformed the country over the last 50, 60 years because of education. A key asset is our people. So we have established a highly skilled workforce that has enabled us to attract investment into Ireland as a hub for all of Europe. And of course, education is key to that. And the third aspect is around adopting technology. We don't have a lot of natural resources in Ireland, same as in Singapore, same as here. It's about the people. So we look to technology and education to build this national resource. So we came to Rwanda because on paper it looked like it would have what we need, and the experience has been so positive because we have been able to build such a strong team, to find the expertise that we need, to work with the government here to establish best practice. So we can now point to Rwanda when we're talking across Africa about how to do this. We don't have to rely on European examples or Asian examples. And nobody feels threatened by the small country. So we can go to your larger neighbors, we can go to West Africa, we can go to Nigeria, and we can talk about what we do, we can talk about how it's working in Rwanda, and people are open. It's only a matter of scale beyond that. If it works in Rwanda, it can work in your countries. You might have to scale it up significantly. So for us, this has been a really exciting journey, really successful one. We have nothing but positive experiences, and seeing how ICDL is extending across Africa and being adopted is really satisfying. But what we have here has enabled us to look at how we extend the influence of ICDL Africa into the global network. So one of the things we're doing is establishing a content and platform development hub here. So we're hiring e-learning developers and software developers here to be part of the Skillsbox and ICDL team to extend our capability, not just for Africa, but for the global organization. So we will be doing more development here, as well as in Ireland and Singapore and elsewhere, because of the expertise that we can find locally, because of the attitude, the work ethic, because of the culture. So it's really, really positive. So to finish, it is about that ICDL advantage, that combination of program, platform, pricing, and people, but most of all the people. And you are key to that, and I do want to thank all of you for being part of ICDL. As we always say, you don't buy ICDL, you join ICDL. And it's that partnership that we have across Africa that is enabling ICDL to become the standard for Africa. It's enabling ICDL Africa to play an equal role across the global organization. So the last two slides, just to summarize, it's about how we build a digital skills strategy, not why. It's about a simple approach, ABC, assess, build, certify, and it's about getting started. If you haven't started, just start. Don't talk about it too much. Start, then talk about it, and learn as you go. And in regard to ICDL, ICDL works. So if you haven't, join us, be part of ICDL, and share it. Thank you.